Four aces are on tonight's slate for MLB DFS. We have Jacob deGrom, Garrett Cole, Zach Wheeler, Clayton Kershaw all on the slate for today. We're going to break things down and get you set for tonight in MLB DFS. Let you know our favorite studs and how we're playing things for today over on FanDuel. Welcome on in to the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions for the next 25 minutes and get you set for tonight's slate of MLB DFS. And as mentioned, it's all about the studs for today. We'll talk plenty, I'm sure, about the studs. We're going to start things off here with DJ over on Facebook. And DJ is asking, is Aaron Savali worth a look for tonight? And for me, the answer is no. And I realize I am not with consensus on that because I've seen some Savali discussion several places throughout the day today. Personally, it's not for me because mainly the gap between Clayton Kershaw and Aaron Savali from a salary perspective is pretty low. We see Kershaw at 10-2, Savali at 9,000, and the gap between them from a talent perspective and an expected upside perspective is a lot bigger than that. As you can see here, Kershaw has a 29% strikeout rate. This is over his total of 14 starts this year. Savali in his 8 starts with more cutters is at 20%. So a decrease of 9 percentage points there. They're both pretty good with their walks, their batted ball stuff. So, Savali can definitely hang there, but the strikeout's a big gap. And also you see here, Kershaw's facing the Phillies, 27% strikeout rate versus lefties this year. We have Savali facing the Orioles. They're at 24%, not a high strikeout team. The Phillies are a better offense than what Kershaw has, than what Savali has, but that's not enough to make me say, yes, I definitively feel good about the upside that Savali presents. I feel like for me, I just need to have a guy who can get me a lot of points for today. It's very possible that Savali does that. I think his last time out, he had like 10 strikeouts or something. It was a lot. It was 11 strikeouts against Seattle. So he was awesome his last time out. He definitely could have that big game. But if I'm trying to predict who will do well today, I think the odds that Kershaw, Wheeler, Cole, deGrom do it are a lot better. So basically my perspective is Savali going to be the highest scoring pitcher on tonight's slate? I think the odds of that are pretty slim, but I think that the odds or the amount he is rostered will be higher than that. So to me, I'd rather just spend up for these 4 guys, ignore Savali. It's not a bad spot. He's not a bad pitcher. He's a good pitcher. It's a good matchup, but I'd rather get the higher upside plays, which are, to me at least, those top 4 guys in deGrom, Cole, Wheeler, and Kershaw. Let's talk to Diffuse. Care to shine on how the Braves show more love or shine some more on the Braves now that the lineup is out. Abraham Monte in the cleanup spot worth a look. He is very much because we're trying to get to deGrom, and that means I will use some guys who may not be the most optimal plays. Let's sort here by plate appearances and check out the Braves. Almonte has not been bad this year, to be fully honest, but I probably wouldn't pick to bat him cleanup personally. In 39 plate appearances versus righties, a 214 ISO, good batted ball data, good plate discipline data. It's not over a large sample, the batted ball stuff, because he hasn't really put a lot of balls in play. But let's check out what he's done overall this year to make sure we're not making too many leaps. Not a lot of barrels. Didn't have any last year. Not a big barrel guy in general, but, he can hit for some power. And I think I'm willing to believe that he'll be a non-zero in the power department. I don't think he'll keep up with a 206 ISO for the full season, but batting fourth, really good team, a team that I want to stack. I would say that Almonte, as a result of that, is going to be someone we target, even if he's not someone we're expecting to hit for as much power going forward as he has thus far. So let's put Almonte in there. Austin Riley is batting 5th. I think we're probably going to wind up there. Let's pull up the Braves numbers versus righties. Austin Riley, 25% strikeout rate versus righties, 208 ISO. Those are good enough numbers for me to get there. So we'll take Riley for sure. I'm likely going to need Dansby Swanson as well because I just need the salary savings to get you to deGrom. Swanson, not bad, a 39% fly ball rate, couple too many strikeouts, not the best power numbers, but he's also not a negative. And for $2,600, I think that works. So we'll go with him. And as we talked about this morning, we in general do want to favor righties versus Richards because he gets fewer ground balls against them. So if I'm spending up for Acuna or for Freeman, I'm going to pick Acuna. I would do that anyway. If it didn't really matter what Richards does, but I would still pick Acuna. It does help, though, that Richards is someone against whom we want to target the right-handed batters. So I think this is the optimal Braves stack. It does mean you are scrambling for sure in your other 4 slots to find the salary savings to get there, but I think you can make it work. If you can't get to Acuna, that's totally fine. I know Albies is a switch hitter, so he doesn't really fit the creed we discussed about trying to target the righties, but good numbers for Albies, 51% fly ball rate versus righties, 201 ISO, 4 stolen bases. That all works for sure. So if you can't get to Acuna, it's a bummer, but like we can still work with this for sure. This is where I'd be looking with the Braves, preferably Acuna, but if you can't make it work, Albies a good consolation prize at $3,100. Eric, when is sportsbook going to be legal in Maryland? Don't know. Hopefully soon. I think I have a wedding. I guess it's in Virginia, but it's in that area in September. So hopefully, it probably won't be by then, but hopefully it's by then. Kyle, do you like Straw or McCormick as cheap plays for the Astros tonight, depending on which one plays? So the Astros facing Jordan Lyles definitely is a stack I'm willing to go at. So I think diving in, trying to identify some lower salary plays who might be in the lineup is a worthwhile endeavor just to kind of prepare ourselves ahead of time. But depending on what happens with their lineup for today. Okay, so McCormick is up to 59 plate appearances versus righties, 292 ISO, 31% strikeout rate. That's high, but it's not like Miguel Sano high. So it's high, but it's not the worst. Let's pull up his numbers here at other levels to see if this is something we should expect to continue for him. In AAA back in 2019, 204 ISO, had some speed. I think that's encouraging. So if McCormick were to play, I don't think that would be a terrible option. Straw is not the kind of batter I like to use in general. He's basically a bunny, and bunnies are more so viable for season-long stuff versus daily fantasy because you really are dependent on the steals. And Straw, only 5 steals so far this year with righties in the mound across 155 plate appearances. So I would rather not use Straw. Even if that means less exposure to the Orioles, that's fine with me because I'm not sure if there's enough juice there for me to feel really good about him. But McCormick is someone I could consider if he does wind up being in the lineup. We'll see on that. But if he's in there, I think that could work out. Hopefully Kyle Tucker plays. I do like Kyle Tucker too. But if we don't get Kyle Tucker, McCormick at $2,200 could be a salary saver within the Astros. So Kyle, McCormick for me, preferably no Straw. Let's talk to Cliff over on Facebook. DeSclafani has huge upside for the salary tonight, but DeGrom is a play if you can find the right bargain hitters. Yeah, so I think that DeGrom is the right play. He's my number 1 pitcher for today. I have Kershaw 2, Wheeler 3, Cole 4. Let's check out DeSclafani, though, because I think that he is worth at least talking about. The Diamondbacks, I believe, have lost, quote me or tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 93 consecutive games in the road. Correct me. I might be 1 or 2 off on that, but they've been bad. Their strikeout rate versus righties is up to 24%. It was low for most of the year. It has increased. DeSclafani, 21% strikeout rate. Lower than you'd like, but he does help make up for it a bit by going deeper in games. 103 pitches last time out, 107 a couple before that. Lance Lynn, what in the world? Did I just link that wrong, or did I click the wrong link? Let's see here. Is this DeSclafani? This is still Lance Lynn, isn't it? Okay, well, I just linked to the wrong page. Cool, Jim. Awesome. Let's go into DeSclafani here manually as opposed to shortcut way and pull up his numbers recently. 2-hit shutout against the Nationals. That's pretty sweet. So he has paths to upside. Yeah, I think that DeSclafani definitely works. 8 strikeouts in that game. Washington, I think it's kind of archetypally, if that's a word, similar to Washington, where they're both not good offenses, not super high strikeout teams, but not good in general. So yeah, I think that DeSclafani is a defensible option for today. Wouldn't talk you out of him if your process led you there. I think that we were talking about, we got so much on the Taijuan Walker last night, and those were good recommendations by you, the public. He did great. I think that DeSclafani, if we're looking for a Walker of this slate, Probably DeSclafani might be that guy. $7,700. I think he works for sure. So, Cliff, I'm on board with DeSclafani as a potential option. My preferred route is still to spend up, but if you want to spend down, DeSclafani works. I talked about Ian Anderson this morning. Haven't seen the Red Sox lineup yet. Doesn't appear to be out, but if there's no JD Martinez, I would bump up Anderson in that scenario as well. Diffuse, second base one-off. So we talked about Ozzy Albies earlier. I think that he would definitely work as being a second base one-off. Jose Altuve, if you're up there from a salary perspective, I'd rank him above Polanco. I think the Twins are worthwhile for stacking today, but Polanco could work. I also do like Cesar Hernandez at the same salary as Albies. Hernandez not typically on my list for DFS because the power is not there, but he has a lot more power versus lefties. Leads this year, and it's a small sample, but I think it's 101 plate appearances. He's actually showed some pop, so I would say Cesar Hernandez works from a stacking perspective or from a one-off perspective at second base. If I were to pick one of those, non-value plays at second base, I would probably go Hernandez first. Probably Hernandez first, followed by Albies because of the salaries, and then Altuve and Polanco. All those guys are players I am willing to use for today, but that's the order I'd rank them. Gleyber Torres, I think, is a viable value or one-off as well. Ty France could work. Actually, the Twins are the Mariners are facing Bailey Ober, so don't want to go there. Let me reconsider that. He's facing Wheeler. No thanks. So I think for the most part, it's the upper salary guys. If you want a lower salary guy, I know we talked about DeSclafani in a positive light before, but Josh Rojas, good individual batter, and I'd be okay considering him too. So Rojas is probably the top value option, but then to me, I think that overall, Cesar Hernandez probably going to be the way I go at second base pretty often for today. Alvin, any change to the stack ranks from this morning? No, I'm still on board with going with Atlanta 1, Cleveland 2, Minnesota 3. I've had a harder time getting to Minnesota than I thought I might. So I think if I were to potentially change something, it might be just putting them in the same bucket as the Astros. Like, that's not changing my rankings, but it's putting them in that bucket. If I put the Twins in the overall high salary bucket, then I'd rank the Astros higher. So if I were to say there were a change, I would say the affordable bucket is Atlanta 1, Cleveland 2. The non-affordable bucket for DeGrom is Houston 1, Minnesota 2. If you can get to one-offs on Houston and Minnesota, definitely okay going there. But I think that Minnesota, just the more I look at their salaries, the more they seem a little bit pricey for me. So I do think that's the one alteration I make, is just putting the Twins in a different bucket, putting them in the same bucket as the Astros, and saying I probably can't get there if I'm going with DeGrom. Mostly Atlanta and Cleveland in those lineups. Cliff, D-backs numbers versus righties are bad. Ballpark favors him too. Yeah, the temperature for today for DeSclafani, 68 degrees. Best park on the slate. Best situation for pitching on the slate too. So yeah, another good thing for DeSclafani there. DJ, stack Toronto, Houston, or Arizona. Not Arizona. We were talking about DeSclafani before, so not Arizona. And then stack Toronto, Houston, or Arizona. And is Christian Walker look tonight, or after his performance last night, or do I avoid him? I wouldn't care too much about what happened last night. I think that the long reliever for San Francisco was a lefty. He's now facing a righty. Christian Walker, I believe, has pretty drastic platoon splits, so I wouldn't look at Walker personally. As far as stacking Toronto, Houston, or Arizona, I would rank definitely not Toronto. They're facing Garrett Cole. I know he's not been the same recently, but he's still got a 33% strikeout rate over his past 8 starts. His strikeout rate, I think, in the 2 starts since the spin rate decrease, I think he's at 35%. So do not stack Toronto. I would stack Arizona for sure. Wouldn't stack Arizona. Did I say that? I said I would stack Houston, but not stack Arizona. So to me, DJ, Houston's the only team in that set I would consider stacking for today. Let's talk to Sean. Do you think the Twins pitcher is worth a shot in GPP? Get me some nice sticks. So I think that the talent is pretty good on Bailey Ober. The concern I have is pitch count. As you can see in the 3 starts he's made this year, he's gone 82, 51, and 73 pitches. I think the Twins are okay. They're content with keeping him a little bit shorter. So I don't think if I'm if I'm projecting pitch count for Bailey Ober for tonight, I'm probably sticking somewhere closer to 85 or so. That would still be his max. So I think with that in mind, I'm going to avoid him. I need more pitches out of someone to be super enthused. I think the talent's good. Like I said, he has a 3.63 skill interactive ERA. It's 3 starts this year, 32% strikeout rate back in AAA. So I think he's a talented guy, and I don't want to stack against him, but I'm also not going to use him because I don't think the pitch count is quite long enough for me yet. Michael, which Cleveland batters do you like other than Cesar Hernandez? So let's, I think their lineup is out, so we can actually check out who they are using for today. Ahmed Rosario batting second, Jose Ramirez, Harold Ramirez, Yu Chang is batting sixth, Bobby Bradley seventh, Austin Hedges. Okay, so let's check out their numbers versus lefties this year. And Cleveland, they've actually faced a good number of lefties, partly because they're really bad against lefties. So I feel like teams are okay, kind of greasing the wheel a bit to make sure that they get their lefties out there versus Cleveland. So, we actually got some decent volume here. Okay. So Yu Chang has 68 plate appearances versus lefties, fly ball rate of 48%, not a lot of hard contact, and no power. So preferably not there, despite the fact he is batting sixth. Maybe you could do it just because I guess, again, it's salary savings on a night where we do need those salary savings. But to me, I think you start things off here with Hernandez. I'm going to go Ahmed Rosario because the salary there is not super low salary, but it's you can get to it with DeGrom. So we'll do that. Other guys who are in the lineup for today, we've got Jose Ramirez. Oh, Harold Ramirez. Definitely want him because he's $2,500. He's had some solid power numbers this year. We'll do that there. And then I'm probably not going to be able to get the Jose Ramirez just because, $24.75 is tough. I could go Almonte, I know for sure, and make that a little bit easier. But I would say the top 4 guys in Cleveland are going to be the top 4 guys for me from a stacking perspective. Eddie Rosario, he's been bad versus righties this year. Not great versus lefties either. So would like to avoid that. Let's check out Yu Chang's numbers in the lower minors to see, what he's been doing overall. If we can have some reason for optimism here, maybe we can get ourselves jazzed. Oh, I toggled off minor leagues. Actually, one of those on there. Okay, so in AAA back in 2019, 174 ISO. That was back when they had the juice ball in AAA. So you would kind of hope for bigger numbers there. But this year, if we look at versus both righties and lefties, his barrel rate is 8.1%. That's not the worst. So I'd really rather not use Chung personally because I just don't know if the path to power is there. So I'm going to try not to get there, but realistically, you might have to. So I think that my optimal Cleveland stack for today would be one that likely omits Jose Ramirez and just works with these 3 guys. And then I have a one-off at some point in there. But your other options are you go Chung in there, and then you can have 30-50 left for your Braves or whatever stack. Maybe you go Twins or Astros there, and then or you go with Jose Ramirez and just really scramble for the other 4 slots. I think both those are viable. My preferred route for today, I think, is going to be this one with a 3-player stack and then having a one-off somewhere in the lineup. Jerry, how do you feel about Savali and the Texas middle of the lineups? So again, talked about Savali earlier. Not like he's not a bad play because he's a good pitcher. He had a really good game last time out. I just don't think he has the upside to match Kershaw, Wheeler, Cole, DeGrom, and the salary discrepancy there is not big enough for me. So not super into Savali tonight personally. And then the Texas middle of the order. Okay, so let's pull up Rangers facing Greinke. Greinke's a low strikeout guy, so you could go there, but he's still suppressing hard contact. So I'm not super into Texas overall. So to me, probably not a huge priority for me with Texas. Mateo, do you like the Giants bats versus Arizona? Merrill Kelly is a guy I stacked against a lot earlier in the year. I've not been doing so recently because he's been increasing his strikeout rate, not as much of a negative in the batted ball department. So I'm probably not going to get to the Giants today. I was fine with them yesterday. I thought they were in a good spot. But today, I think I'm okay avoiding them against Kelly because we got some better options elsewhere for this one. Chris, is Almonte a good value play? Yeah, I talked about him earlier. I think that if you're looking for a very logical play, Abraham Almonte is probably the number 1 process value for today would rank him above Chung pretty easily. So Almonte, I think $2,200 is the salary for him for today. I think that he's going to be not like I would say probably a priority, honestly, because he gets you so much flexibility elsewhere. So I would say Almonte, probably a priority play among the values for today. Cliff, I'm throwing 50% to DeGrom. Yes, I am a Mets fan. I think that's a fair number, whether you're a Mets fan or not. You can get to him with all three Mets outfielders as well. McKinney and Pilar, super low salaried. We can get there with a 2 out of 3 of their outfield, Brantley, Sano, and Donaldson. But I won't give anyone my lineup. I have just think it makes sense and fits. So the Mets offense is facing, okay, so they're facing the Cubs, and it's Robert Stock starting. It might be a bullpen game. Stock is a reliever, but he was throwing longer in AAA. He went 57, 52, and 66 pitches in his final 3 AAA outings. I think that they'll get to him. I'm just not sure how much they'll get to the Cubs bullpen after he leaves. They're a good bullpen. So I think the Mets are an option for stacking for today. They're not one I feel great about. So if it makes it easier for you to get to DeGrom, I think that's fine, but they're not a team I am actively seeking out personally for today. DJ actually asked, what do you know about Robert Stock, the starter for the Cubs, other than don't use him? Yeah, I wouldn't use him. He's because he won't go long enough. He's a super hard thrower. Like I think he hit like 101 this year in Iowa. So he's a hard thrower, which means we're probably going to have starters in this game where both starters in the first inning hit 100, which is kind of cool. With DeGrom and Stock starting, I think because he's probably going to go 3 or 4 innings, it means we'd prefer to have it against a team that had a rough bullpen. We'll pull up the numbers here for the Cubs bullpen this year. I think it's a 2.00 ERA for them. Let's check that, though. 2.00 ERA for their bullpen. Let's see what the bulk relievers have done, because that's kind of the more relevant thing here when we're talking about a bullpen game. So guys who have gone, so Dylan Maples, a lot of strikeouts for him, 1.99 ERA, 3.62 xERA. Keegan Thompson has gone long a couple times. Good number of strikeouts for him. 2.18 ERA. Mills went last night. So I think they're fine. The Mets are for stacking. But I think that because the Cubs have some pretty lively arms in the bullpen, it's okay to be a bit lower on them. We forgot the number 1 ace, Anthony Rizzo, coming out of relief. So can't overlook that. I think that allows me to just say that they're okay, but not be super high in them. Okay, Alvin says the Astros lineup just came out. So let's, actually I already had it here. Okay, so we got Altuve, Bregman, or Brantley, Bregman, Alvarez, Gurriel, Correa, McCormick, Straw, and Maldonado. So we talked about McCormick before. It's a bummer that there's no Tucker, because Tucker was kind of one affordable guy in that lineup. But McCormick, he's got some power. So I do think that although he's batting 7th, I think that he works, especially if he gets you flexibility elsewhere, which he would. So let's go to the Astros here. Let's pull up McCormick as a one-off for now. And then I'm going to take DeGrom out, because realistically, I'm probably stacking the Astros with Kershaw versus DeGrom, just because I don't think I can do it with DeGrom even with McCormick in there. We are at 32:29 left. Let's pull up the Houston numbers versus righties this year to see what our priorities should be within this offense. And then we'll sort by plate appearances. Okay. Not a big Brantley guy, just not a ton of power there, not a ton of upside. So I'm okay crossing him off. Yordan Alvarez, obviously very good. So if we're looking here just like from a power perspective, the guys who stand out most there are Alvarez, Tucker, Altuve, Correa. Bregman not running as much this year, which does put a dent in his upside. So let's pull up the Astros, check out their salaries over on FanDuel. And let's go to Altuve, 4,000, Bregman, 35, Correa, 35, Alvarez, 37. So I'm going to try this. Let's go Alvarez. I know Correa's batting 6th. That's just a bit lower, but I'm still fine with that. And if I go with Altuve at second base, then if you go with like the value plays we talked about before, like Abraham Almonte, Harold Ramirez, guys like that, you can make this work. So I would say when you are going at Kershaw, I would try to be high on the Astros, because this is a pretty solid stack. I'm okay with this one personally. I think that it does work out pretty well. So in your Kershaw lineups, try to jam in the Astros. And we're talking about McCormick specifically. I think that he does enough for me to be viable at $2,200. That is all the time that we have here for today on this FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. Should be a fun slate. Should be pretty high scoring too, given the pitchers out there. So pick wisely, decide who your top pitcher is, build your stacks around that, and try to go win yourself some cash for tonight. Do not forget to subscribe to whichever platform you're watching on, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, no matter where you're watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Tune back in every weekday at 4 p.m. and get those questions. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button because it does help us out tremendously, and appreciate those of you who have done so already. If you have additional questions for me, I am on Twitter at JimSannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck for you tonight. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.